Now call on the Minister for Commerce, Trade, Tourism and Transport, the Honourable Faiyaz Koya. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, sir. Thank the Honourable Member for the question, Honourable Speaker. Very pertinent question, especially when this is something that the opposition, and I'm referring to Honourable Prasad, would like to actually flaunt this report in our faces quite frequently. Honourable Speaker, in September 2021, the World Bank Group issued a statement on the discontinuation of doing business report. And the World Bank noted in their statement that trust in the research is actually vital. And if I could just read the line with respect to the statement, and I quote, after data irregularities on doing business in 2018-2020 were reported internally in June 2020, World Bank management paused the next doing business report and undertook a series of reviews and audits in its methodology. In addition, because the internal reports raised ethical matters, including the conduct of former board officials, as well as current and or former bank staff, management reported the allegations to the bank's appropriate internal accountability mechanisms. And after reviewing all the information available to date on doing business, including the findings of past reviews, audits and report, the bank released today on behalf of the Board of Executive Directors that it had taken a decision to discontinue the doing business report. Honourable Speaker, sir, this particular issue and how it was very flawed was raised time and time again in this House. It was raised time and time again. We, and I say the Honourable Minister for Economy and the Ministry of Commerce, Trade, Tourism and Transport continuously raised this with the World Bank just to tell them how the process was flawed. And today, it doesn't exist anymore. Mr. Speaker, sir, Fiji, as one of the 192 countries surveyed, raised this matter of data irregularities and the data biasness, which was significantly affecting the results of the survey with the World Bank Group. It was pointed out that, with respect to Fiji, that the survey respondents were people who benefited from providing incorrect information. They benefited from providing false information on the reforms that were evident and were made public. The respondents to their survey chosen by the World Bank was narrow and excluded the relevant agencies that were being evaluated. So if it was a matter relating to the registering of companies, the Registrar General was excluded, Honourable Speaker, even for the provision of neutral statistics. The World Bank survey team actually gravitated towards critics of government who had a vested interest in labelling Fiji a hard place to do business. The doing business survey was a disservice, Honourable Speaker, to small island developing states, countries that were committed to reforms, just like us. And once the SIDS, like Fiji, started identifying gaps in the data and the report to ensure that reforms reported were adequately captured, the World Bank doing business team no longer could hide behind their so-called objectivity. We had started discussions, Honourable Speaker, directly with the World Bank Group, and we are working also with the reform team at the World Bank, more specifically with indicator-based technical teams. Mr. Speaker, sir, because the doing business report became so important, it became evident that the reforms that were done were not actually being reflected adequately. The Cabinet gave a mandate to the Ministry to ensure that the 2025 doing business report, Fiji be ranked in the top 50. But the Cabinet remained adamant, sir, that the reforms must not only be done for mere ranking, Honourable Speaker, sir. Reforms are there to make things happen easier and faster, and they're there to modernize the way government works, and they're to ensure that we remain competitive in the global arena for investments. Mr. Speaker, in the year 2019, major reforms were implemented in terms of starting a business and the ease of starting a business process. Relevant agencies that were led by MCTTT provided data and all the relevant information and evidence to the World Bank to support the objective of the reform in the survey. But then the survey was filled by the selected private sector, mainly the so-called agents of investors. There were people that benefited from delays. And guess what, Mr. Speaker, sir? The reforms did not get acknowledged at all, Honourable Speaker. It is indeed sad that one of the policies of the survey was that it gave precedence to information submitted by agents over the submissions made by the relevant agencies, even when data and evidence was provided by these agencies. Mr. Speaker, sir, some of these reforms included the launch of Biz Fiji portal for doing business in Fiji, the elimination of business licenses, the streamlining of starting a business process and risk-based approach with respect to low-risk businesses having to have 6 months to obtain their necessary licenses, the reduction in time taken for processing by approval agencies such as the NFA and FNPF, the digitalization of application processes for Registrar of Companies and Fiji Revenue and Customs Services, the fast-track process for construction permit for industrial, commercial projects through Building Permits Evaluation Committee, the elimination of stamp duty requirement while registering properties, getting electricity reduction in time by EFL, refund of capital contribution for commercial and industrial customers, the establishment of personal property securities registry, taxpayer online portal and an investment facilitation task force. Honourable Speaker, sir, the Ministry, with the support of the investment-related agencies, continued reforms in 2020 and 2021. Memorandums were submitted for the survey, inclusive of both reforms and data correction. The Ministry had also insisted on meetings with 3 critical indicator assessment teams and provided them direct submissions whilst also filling out these particular surveys. So in February 2021, we received a reform memo from the World Bank Group Doing Business team informing Fiji's reforms in 3 indicators, namely starting a business, getting construction permits and getting credit will be acknowledged in the 2021 Doing Business report, something no other government has ever achieved, Honourable Speaker. So if the opposition wants to verify this, you can go over the Doing Business reports. This would have meant at least, Honourable Speaker, this would have meant at least a 10-ranking improvement for Fiji. It definitely would have shut down the arguments that were presented earlier by the Honourable Biman Prasad specifically. But unfortunately, the World Bank Group decided to discontinue the report, instead to sort out these issues. So for the first time, SIDS would have been recognized amongst the top 10 or 20 reformers, Honourable Speaker. I want to tell the House that our reform journey, and I quite categorically state this, our reform journey continues with extra vigor and strength, and we are working with some of the best technical advisors from Singapore and also from the World Bank and IFC. The Fijian government will continue to roll out reforms that will benefit our people. In a matter of months, in fact, Honourable Speaker, we will roll out, be launching the online starting a business platform on the Biz Fiji portal, and for MSMEs, we're working on a registration platform that is simple and easy. And we're working with the Ministry of Justice and World Bank on the insolvency legal framework for MSMEs. Construction permit processes will also be brought online by the end of 2023. Complementary to these reforms, Honourable Speaker, the Ministry is also spearheading investment-related legislative and regulatory reforms, where we have seen establishment of a new Investment Act and review of the Investment Fiji Act. This will also contribute towards modernizing the Fijian business climate. Mr. Speaker, sir, when it comes to providing the best for Fijian business, Fiji First government will do so, sir. No doing business report will undermine the vision of the government, sir, and we are paving the way for Fiji's economic recovery, and we will achieve what we are actually setting out to do. I thank you, sir, for allowing me the opportunity to answer the question.
All right. Thank you, Honourable Minister.